Hello guys, this is your girl Diva Fashionista, and I'm bringing you a video that is very important to me. It's with a heavy heart I actually talk about this because it is a touchy subject, but I feel like it's important that we have this conversation and that, I express some things to you guys because what I saw today on Twitter was scary. I spent the bulk of the day going back and forth with people on Twitter, not so much in a combative way. I'm more about educating. I'm more about we can agree to disagree. But it was just alarming to see how many people were just so blindly supporting this situation. And I'm gonna start by saying I by no means want to victim shame or victim blame. I by no means think that this young woman should be in jail. I do not think that she should lose her children. I don't think that she should be criminalized. I don't think any of that. I know what I know from past situations. I know that this is a blessing in disguise. But before I get into all of that, I want you to know what I'm actually talking about. So a young mother, she's 24. I'm not actually going to say her name in this video. If you guys do know her GoFundMe, please put it down below. There's a lot going on with that. Well, it's like 3 different ones, and which one is the valid one. So if you have information and you know that which one is the valid GoFundMe to get this mother help and the resources that she needs, feel free to leave it in my comments because I do want to see this young lady get the help that she needs. Well, this mother, the 24-year-old single mother, is living at a motel, and she's working the night shift at a pizza shop. So she left her children. Now it's not clear how many times she's done this. It's kind of apparent that she's done it on more than one occasion. She has a 10-year-old and a 2-year-old, and she's leaving them at the motel, and they have a phone, and she's checking in with them periodically. And she also said that she had people checking on the children. From what I understand, it's over the phone. And she's checking in on them, and she usually gets home by 10 is what the 10-year-old said. So she's leaving them to go to work, and it's a 10-year-old and 2-year-old if I hadn't said that. And now what happens is someone called in a tip. I heard people saying that it was the father, but in those situations they don't tell you who called. They do not tell you who called, but someone called and had a tip that these children were being left unattended. The police came to the hotel room, knocked on the door. The 10-year-old, who seemed to me, at least in my eyes, very mature, explained the situation to the cops. And I think she was even able to tell the cops where the mom worked. And of course, they went to the job because she's at work at the time, and they arrested her for child endangerment, and I'm sure amongst other charges, depending on her state. So it brought up the conversation. So I saw this tweet, and I'm gonna try to put it somewhere on the screen. And of course, when you're seeing tweets, you can't really see who liked the tweet unless you go and dig and investigate, or that stuff is public. But I actually liked the tweet because I agreed with the gentleman. He said something to the fact that this is who you raise money for GoFundMe for. This is the type of case that warrants that. And I know that was kind of probably a shot at Gorilla Glue Girl, which I'm not even gonna get into this video. I have an unpopular opinion on that as well, but I totally agreed with him. That's the case. Those are the cases that you raise money for because she is in need. She is in need, and not saying that anyone else is not in need, but she's clearly lacking resources. And that's when it started the conversation, because as I'm reading the replies, people were saying things like, this is not criminal. Why is she even being arrested? Plenty of us were left home, and our parents did it, and things of that nature. And yes, our parents did it. But there's a lot of things that our parents did. I'm pretty sure our parents gave us a whole bunch of processed food and soda growing up. Doesn't mean that we should do it just because that's what was done. Oh, this is always what happened. My parent had to work third shift, so she left me home alone. My dad was a single dad and he worked 12-hour shifts. He left me home alone. And there's other mitigating circumstances. One young lady said basically like, well, what is the age to leave them alone? And to which I responded to her, because she was actually trying to do research. She was trying to dig around for her state and see what it was. And there was a lot of mixed comments. Some people were saying 11, some people were saying 12. And I answered to her because we've been here before. We've had this conversation before. We should have had the conversation. I was too afraid to be as vocal because I said something I remember on Facebook, and even my own friends and family were like, no. They were letting me have it because they didn't agree with me. I think we jump to support. Well, people tend to just jump to support the mom and say, no, what she did wasn't wrong because what her intentions were noble. Because, you know, we think about providing. We live in a capitalist society where everything is, you know, you got to pay for this, you got to pay. Nothing is free. Nothing is free. You die and there's a bill. Like, there's nothing free. So we're focused a lot on providing, and we think that is a job of a parent to provide. So we think that a mother out there providing, even though she may not have everything together, her child care may not be in place, is not a bad thing because she was doing the right thing. No, leaving your children alone is not right. And that's the main thing I want to impose upon you. If you take nothing, if you don't agree with me, I am so okay with you disagreeing. I'm so okay with you, you know, just taking nothing else. Don't leave your children home alone. Do not leave your children unattended, because the variable of things that can happen are infinite. It could be fine. I was fine. Me and my mom actually got into it because when I approached the subject with her today, she swears she never left me home alone. And I'm going to tell you for a fact, I believe I was left for maybe a couple hours, few hours, as young as 9 by myself. Not often, not frequently, not while my mom worked, no. But my mom did go back to school at a certain point, and it was night school, which was strategic. So basically, I'd come home from school. She let me in. I didn't have a key. She let me in. I'd do homework. You know, if she feed me, whatever like that, she'd go off to school. And sometime during that, the night, like around probably like 6, my brother would come home from work. So I wouldn't be home alone for long, but I was left home alone. And my mom was like, I did not leave you home at 12. She absolutely did, and younger, but she just would not hear the conversation. And I said to her, like, you don't remember that time I went outside? I would go outside. It didn't matter. I didn't have no keys. And this is the thing why minors shouldn't be left alone, because they're going to get into things. I decided I was going to go hang out with the girl upstairs. I left the door open, and I'm hanging out. And we just so happened to be in front of my building where my window faced. And we're laughing, having a good time. I'm not supposed to be outside. And to this day, I've always been the type that if someone's looking at me, I can feel it. If you're staring at me, especially, I'll turn and look directly at you. I don't know what it is about it, but there's just a sixth sense that I have. So I look up and I stare, and I see my mom staring down at the window. So I think her class was canceled or something like that, and she came home early. She shouldn't have been home at that time, and she caught me outside, and I just slowly walked. And it was so crazy because I knew I was in for it. My mom tore me up. I never did it again. But, you know, I'm glad that that's all that happened, because anything could have happened. Someone could have came into my house and took everything. Like, you know, what could I have said to my mom? Like, somebody could have hurt me. I could have shoot, it was dangerous. I live in the project. Someone could have did a drive-by. It's just so much. And I just know that I was left home. So the argument, that was just the biggest argument, was like, well, my mom did it, my big mama did it, pop did it. And I think that that's the weakest argument, that just because our parents did it doesn't mean that we should do it too, doesn't make it right. You know, not too many years ago, cars didn't have seatbelts. We were just out there riding. You know, we've seen what happens with that. We see what happens if you don't wear a seatbelt. It's dangerous. You know, you're putting your life at risk. And so leaving your child alone, unattended, you're putting them at risk, because anything, and I repeat, anything could happen. And it just was just so scary. And I was like, I want to have this conversation. I was on Twitter today, and I was like, I just don't think that this is the right audience, because it was just like, I think someone said to me, like, you're acting like you never been left home, which I responded, I had been left home. They were saying things like, well, these things can happen, because I was saying, like, you know, what if Mr. Charlie from down the hall breaks in and touches the kid? And they were saying, like, well, these things can happen at daycare, or these things can happen when they're left with someone. And it's so true. These things have happened and can happen when you leave them with an adult that you trust. But why risk it? Why risk it and leave them alone? Because children lack the critical thinking that it takes sometimes to get them out of situations. Hell, some adults are like, you see the mama left them home alone. And I feel bad for the young lady, because she's 24. Her oldest is 10. She has a 10-year-old and a 2-year-old. And it's like, wow, you know, her resources are limited. She's living in a motel. And that's where I wanted to have the conversation. Why a 10-year-old and a 2-year-old shouldn't be left alone, whether they were home, wherever they were. Does the 10-year-old know the Heimlich maneuver? Let's say the 2-year-old starts to choke. Does she know what to do? If the hotel did catch fire, does she know, like, to stop, drop, and roll, get down on the floor, get under the smoke, get the baby under control to get her down or him down? And, you know, these type of things that are critical in saving lives. Do they know that? You know, like, calling on the phone, and that was an argument that I saw several people make. Well, she had people calling on the phone. So one girl said to me, ma'am, do you know there's 2021 and there's cell phones and FaceTime and cameras? And I said to her, honey, do you know that a camera can only record what's happening? It can't stop the crime if it's in process. FaceTime, if someone's in there harming them, can they FaceTime? No, they cannot. That is not actual safety measures. It's noble. Again, it's noble. It's noble, but it doesn't prevent these things from happening. You know, I just need you guys to understand and know that it's a crime. Whether we agree that it should be a crime or not, that's another conversation. That is a conversation that we need to have with our lawmakers. That's when we need to rally. We need to write our congressmen. We need to have public outcry, or we need to run for office, or we need to be in the position to make laws or change the laws. Because if we think that this is not a crime, then we need to change it, but it is illegal. Child endangerment, child neglect. These are all things that you can be charged with, even if nothing happens serious. Like, I don't think, nor do I want anything serious to happen to this young lady. What's likely to happen is she's going to have an ACS case. Well, in New York, we call it ACS. I know most states call it CPS, Child Protective Services, but we call it ACS. I don't even know what that stands for. But Child Protective Services, more than likely, she's going to have a Child Protective Services case. And that's going to last as long as she's in court. She has to appear back in court in April. So it will probably be ongoing, because that's something that's called founded. It's founded and unfounded. Like, if the charges were, it was meant to, if they come and investigate and they see that nothing was wrong, like this was a false report, or, you know, maybe something happened, but it's not that serious, what they will do is get her resources, like parenting classes, furniture. They probably will help her out with seeking permanent shelter. And that's another thing. I found it alarming that she was staying in the shelter. That says that this family dynamic is fractured, that, you know, she can't live with a relative, or she isn't living. There's a reason why she isn't living with a relative. And it brings up the father as well. Like, where's the father? What's going on with that? You know, the children were released. She's out on bail. The children were released to the father. And yeah, like, what was going on? Like, it seems like they have some type of tension or some misunderstanding. There's something going on there, but hopefully CPS can help them out to get their relationship to a different place, whether it takes counseling, you know, or parenting classes, on his own. You know, he may need that as well, not just the mom, because he has a responsibility. Just as she is providing financially, he has a responsibility to provide financially for those children as well. And just as their safety and their welfare are her responsibility, they're his responsibility as well. So this situation may cause him to step up in a way that he hasn't before, and that's a good thing. Parenting classes, that's a good thing. And I just need you guys to know some of the resources that you have. And I know with COVID, we may be afraid to go to a shelter, but there is shelters. There's family shelters, which are a little better than just a shelter where if you are a single adult by yourself, because they usually give you units that are, you know, at least in NYC, you'll have a unit and you'll be by yourself. And they have childcare in the shelter. So if she had to work and she had nowhere else or no one else to watch her kids, she can leave them with the people they're professionals, and she can leave her children with them while she goes to work. Also, she may not be able to work, and I think that was the thing. People were focusing on her losing her job. One of the tweets was like, well, a few tweets was like, well, they're arresting her and now she's going to lose her job. They're probably not. She's probably not going to lose her job. She was arrested at work, so her employer is aware of the situation. But if they fire her, they'll have a HR and a PR disaster on their hand. An HR disaster because she can sue for wrongful termination. All right? If she did nothing on the clock or nothing in, you know, the job that caused her. She didn't cause a scene or anything like that caused her to be arrested. So her arrest has nothing to do with the job, you know. They're not going to fire her because it's like, and if she gets a wrongful term, that's a wrongful termination suit, and she also can blast them because, you know, we're nosy. This is going viral. We know about it. People are going to want to interview her. You know, we're going to be following the case. So if she says, you know, Joe Blow's Pizza fired me, that's a PR disaster as well, because that's a lot of bad publicity for them. There's gonna be people that probably march outside the pizza shop or swear they're never gonna shop there again. So probably not gonna get fired, but she may be able to take time off. She may be able to do FMLA, that's family medical leave. So these are things that if you guys didn't know that are out there that you should know about. She can take time off and have her job protected, legally protected, because she needs to be home with her child. This also COVID and pandemic relief, whereas you can stay home if you have concerns with COVID. Yes, and then there's that extra money, pandemic relief, where there's an extra $300. Right now they're giving away. At times during this year it was $400 and $600 for unemployment. So had she been working prior to, and hey, you know, girl, get fired. Call out a bunch of times. You called out a few times, they're gonna fire you. Get fired. And I think, you know, some of the employers are hip to this, so sometimes they don't even fire you when you should, because they know you just trying to get unemployment and they're not trying to see you do a come up. Yeah. So there's that as well. And then there is welfare. Good old-fashioned welfare. You cannot work, you can apply for welfare, and it will be food stamps, there's WIC, there's pantries, there's food pantries. Everything is, we have smartphones, everything is within your touch. You can research, you can Google these things, that these resources are out there. Welfare will pay for childcare. If you have someone, an auntie, or uncle, or cousin who's willing to watch them, they will pay for it, you know, while you go to work. So there's that. So we just need to be aware of the resources that are out there, and just not think that the system is there to keep us down and they're not there to help us. We just need to know. And you know, Kenya Moore said something that was interesting to me on this week's Real Housewives. She said, be my village, because I don't have a village. And this is a woman who's wealthy, famous wealthy woman who doesn't have a village. She has to pay for childcare, but sometimes it means bringing your child to work. So understand that, you know, childcare and being there for your children, it transcends race, and it transcends you know, your economic status. Like, you have a child, you need somebody to watch them, you need to provide, you know. And I feel like this society, we're all get it, especially the younger society. Because I noticed, and it's not to be judging, I noticed that a lot of the people that were like just all for it, like, she shouldn't be arrested, this is not a crime, let her go, like, no, they're wrong, the system is messed up, we're younger. And I feel like these younger kids, like these Gen Zs and stuff, it's very just get it out the mud, get it by any means, you know. And yeah, we're putting providing before the safety of the children, and we kind of have to focus on the children, their safety first, you know. Though other things will fall into place if you have the resources, or you know your resources. Yeah, I know welfare probably sucks, because it's like you're not going to get a whole bunch of money, and you know, you're not getting Jordans on welfare. But at this time, you know, it's a stepping stone. It's a time where maybe you can seek some type of training. You can seek maybe going to school, or you know, just seeing if the situation can get better, or maybe, you know, the child care check would be incentive for someone to actually watch them who may not want to watch them otherwise. The only other point I wanted to make in this video was something someone said to me. Someone said, and people were actually liking this tweet, because every time I had an argument, my argument was based on the what ifs. But what if this happens? Okay, she left from home, but what if this happens? Someone said, why are you like making up all these unlikely scenarios? To which I did the research, and I come with you with facts, which you can clearly look up. You can Google yourself, Google and research for yourself how many children have died left unattended, how many children died left at home unattended, and these things will come up. I actually stopped at a certain point, but I want to say to you, I want to read this to you because I wrote it down. On average, 38 children a year die from being left in a car. Between the years of 2018 and 2019 alone, 53 died. So they had a spike. So if we're not talking about these cases and we're not acknowledging these cases, not all of these, I had no clue. This was new to me. These cases, not everything is going to go viral. Not every case is going to make the news. So 38, even as 2019, people still leaving children in the car for whatever reason, you know, for whatever. And I just want to express to you that there's no valid reason to leave a child, especially in a car. Take them with you. Take them with you. It only takes a few seconds, few moments. It may be a hassle, but a hassle may save a life. Okay. In 2003, a 9-year-old and a 1-year-old, which means they were the same ages almost as this woman in Ohio's children. A 9-year-old and 1-year-old died in a fire in Brooklyn when their apartment was intentionally set on fire. The mother was at the night shift. She was a manager at a food service. I'm not even going to say which one, but at food service, a restaurant. And someone intentionally set her children on fire. So someone may have known that those kids was in there, because it wasn't the kids that set the house on fire, the apartment on fire. Someone else did. And they were trapped. They were unable to get out. A 9-year-old and a 4-year-old went joyriding in an SUV in New Jersey. They were left unattended, and they got in the whip and took off. They actually ran over an elderly person. Okay, I don't know what year this is, but a 2-year-old fell from a balcony in Ohio. So it's Ohio again. 2-year-old and a 4-year-old were left alone, and somehow the 2-year-old got to the balcony and fell over. In St. Louis in 2019, an 8-year-old and a 6-month-old died in a fire. They were left alone. In St. Louis as well, prior to that incident, 4 children were left alone overnight, and the apartment caught fire, and the firemen were able to actually get them out. So they were saved, but of course the parents faced charges. In March, a 9-year-old and an 8-year-old died from smoke inhalation. And this is March 2018. In 2019, a 6-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 2-year-old were left at home alone. And they actually got a tip that there was people inside the home, because by the owners, like, there should be no one there. We actually want the house condemned. And when the parent, when they got in, the 2-year-old looked like they thought he was dead. He was so sick, and he was laying on the floor like unresponsive. They thought he was dead. He was all right, but yeah, of course she faced criminal charges. So for the person or the people who think, why are you making stuff or liking that? Why are you making up these unlikely? The proof is there. You can do your own research. It's there. Do not leave your children alone. And lastly, back to the woman in Ohio. I think that this is a blessing in disguise, because she probably will get the resources. They're gonna run up. Go ahead, guys. Let's do it. Let's run up her GoFundMe. It reminds me though of a case a few years ago. The one that I said my family was letting me have it, where the young lady went to do a job interview and she left the children in the food court. Now that I'm a little iffy on. I'm not sure if it was in the food court or if it was in the car, but she left the kids while she went on the job interview. And I remember making an argument at the time, like, if she didn't have anyone to watch the kids while she did an interview, who's gonna watch them while she's at work? And people were just in such an uproar, and it was like, oh my gosh, no, you're dead wrong, maybe that she didn't just have someone to watch them that day, maybe this just fell through that day. And I'm just like, for a few hours, someone couldn't watch the kid for a few hours. Now that lady, she went to they went to jail. She was let out, and I remember with that, she had a GoFundMe of over $100,000, and the judge asked her to just put $10,000 away each kid, and she failed to do that. And I remember I just was so gung-ho against the situation, and everyone just was letting me have it, and I'm like, see, and I just realized that people are not going to agree with me on this subject. And I just want to just keep expressing, like, there's resources out there. Tweet me at Diva Fashion. If you have a question, ask me. Ask people around you. Ask your village. Ask your elders. Ask these people. If you don't have people in your life that are knowledgeable or you feel trustworthy, then reach out to others. It's okay. Let us be supporters. Let us be the collective village so that we can avoid these things happening, because we don't need another child dying. One child dying, being left unattended, is one too many. And it's several. There's at least 38 a year, and that's crazy. Let's put an end to that. And that's my true purpose for making this video. Let's put an end to that. Be there, step in there for your family. Watch those kids. I know they bad, but watch them. Be there for them. That is it. That's all I have to say. I want to thank you for watching, and let's have this conversation, guys. Be the village. Be the village. All right, guys, later.